And give a big round of applause. Of course, two members from Cloud9. It's going to be No Time Misery. And we want to just throw the question right out there to begin with. Game one, I mean, how amazing was that? Why was it amazing?
Well, I think it was amazing because every single spell usage was close to perfect. I didn't feel like there was close to any mistakes in the entire game. There was almost no misplays throughout the entire game. And the 4-staff uses Glimmercape, like all these new items, all this, like the whole game was played so well from both teams, and like so much back and forth in the fights. No one was overcommitting, no one was like throwing or anything like that. It was like close to perfect Dota from both teams. It just came down to the strategy in the end, I feel.
Yeah, the strategy was like to have the Wisp. They used to relocate like the global presence as much as they could. I almost felt like the way they got the Russians only happened because of the Wisp. They could split them up because there's no way that a 5v5 engagement is going to be straightforward for Secret. And as soon as these engagements were forced, you saw how they were played. Like Secret never really could go in and do it. They need an opening. They need a misplay from EG before they could actually like start winning a fight.
How'd you guys handicap that draft? Because I actually felt like it was a moderate outdraft by EG. I was so impressed with how Secret hung in that game, gave themselves a very real chance to win.
I would like to play EG's draft, but at the same time, Wisp lineups and Wisp strategies always give you an early window, almost always, where in the first 20 minutes, you can just take the game. If you get ahead at this point, like we talk about global presence, the whole map is yours. You split them up, and if you're like, if you have that much of a lead, it just means that all these small skirmishes are always going to favor you. But EG, they got out the first 20 minutes really well, and then as soon as these engagements started, you saw the power of their lineup.
All right, well, as we wrap up game... Oh, wow, we're already jumping right into game two. Of course, for all the fans out there, don't forget to check out the Score Esports. You can download their app on the iOS App Store or Google Play. Score Esports for more stats, news from behind the scenes, and whatnot for all your Dota 2 information. But we're already in game two. We've wrapped up game one. Basically, bottom line, excellent Dota play. So game number two, what are we expecting, especially from Team Secret? Now they're playing from a step behind. They're not really used to this. They're not a team that's used to this kind of thing in game number two.
Once again, EG leaving the Tusk in the pool, guys.
Yeah.
10 seconds.
You saw the response to the Tusk in the first phase last game, and that was the Earthshaker and the Leshrac.
Right.
I played Tusk a lot, and I think I was one of the first to pitch the idea of Tusk, and these are two heroes I do not want to play against. When I play Tusk, the double-edged sword of Snowball happens when you have certain AoE spells. In general AoE spells, but like the easier ones are Fissure, Ice Path, Black Hole. These are the kind of things you do not want to play against to at least have the power to Snowball. Obviously the Ice Shards, you saw how they worked in the game also. Like Tusk is still a first pick hero. I think though Secret, they might be a bit more hesitant about doing it, or if they pick it, they're not gonna go with the same cores, you know. Like we talked a little bit before about how Sven looked like the only core in the last game, and I think they're not gonna go that kind of route. They're not gonna pick the Zeus together with a Dazzle and a Wisp. Like it just leaves too many holes in the draft.
All right, and of course, I mean, like you mentioned, of course, we broke it down in game one too, that Leshrac and Earthshaker coming out to kind of counter out that Tusk, and this time they had the first pick, so why not take the Lesh and say, hey, well, if you want to pick the Tusk game, go for it, and there we go, we're still going to see it. I mean, how do you feel now that we've talked about that just a bit, we've seen the result of it, is this still a worthy pick for Team Secret?
I think it is, for sure. Like, Sai probably plays one of the best Tusks in the world, and they seem to have success with it every time they pick it. They have so many routes to go with it. It's such a good hero, and all like it offers so much to the team. Nuke and disable and like it just like everything is such a good hero. So I feel it's definitely a good pick still. I mean, about why they didn't ban it, they have to ban something, and here they chose to ban Quap and Shadow Fiend, which is.
Do you take the Earthshaker away here?
No, I don't think so. And
Lord.
Do you think that the Tusk is always going to be the offlaner, or could it potentially be also in a support position?
I think it could be support, but for Secret's sake,
no.
I think no. I don't. I think that's size zero in almost all cases. I don't know if Kuro plays it, but that would be the only other player I'd see play it from that team. Yeah. But I don't know if. I don't think EG is going to pick a Shaker again. I think they're going to try something different, but we're going to have to see like what happens here.
All right, the Shaker, of course, doing a lot of good work for EG in game number one, but the Naga being picked up right away by Secret. We'll see if that changes EG's mind.
Is this likely core Naga?
Well, you talked about it before that they have never run the core Naga in the new patch. and like Arteezy is a famous Naga player.
Right.
I think EG, like if you go into their TeamSpeak, they're already like settling on a support Naga. Now they might look into banning. I mean, not to say that like a hero like Enigma, even though it might be good with the core Naga, the support Naga plus Enigma combo, I think is something Secret will be very like happy to roll with here. They've done the Crystal Maiden before, but like to answer your question, no, I think Secret are going to stick with their support Naga.
Melini was talking earlier about how Leshrac is a pretty good hero against Naga core. That's why it's most likely not seen on a core position. One hero that comes to my mind when I look at Secret's two heroes is a Maiden, like Crystal Maiden pickup.
They've done that before.
I like a Naga Maiden as a support to it just because I feel like kind of Naga on a support position, you usually want to have a mana item, but mana boots is not that great and you benefit a lot from that aura. And if we look further into the draft, I would like to see other heroes that Secret can benefit on the Maiden aura pickup, potentially. I mean, it's one way to go. Obviously, they're not stuck on it, but it looks to me it could be something.
I think the Naga kind of allows you to pick up the CM also because CM wants to jungle early on, and Naga with Pullman Shield just stands in the lane and he does not care about any dual lane or tri lane or whatever. He's just there. He's so tanky, you almost can't kill him no matter what heroes you have. And that allows you to be able to pick Enigma, for example, as well, or even Chen or whatever. Like it just secures your jungle in such a nice way. And while you still have a Naga support, which is pretty greedy support in a sense too. So that's why the hero has been coming back like a lot in lately, like as a support. But you can't rule it out that it might be a core Naga. Like who knows? Like,
right.
It's still scary if you don't have any way to deal with illusions and he gets early radiance and you can't go aggro trial and stuff. Like the hero will basically automatically win the game for you if he gets early radiance.
The thing that strikes me the most, if you look at these 4 picks together, you look at like, what do you want to do with these picks? What is the whole purpose of this? Of course, everybody thinks about lanes. This is a general thing. But these 4 picks all spell out fighting. This whole patch has often been about fighting. Now, the Naga support is so much about that. Like it's again like the last game you misstep one time. This Phoenix Egg or like the million other spells that were used last game to try and make overextensions or punish them. It's going to be a similar kind of game, just judging from these 4 picks.
And I mean, going exactly along with what you're saying, I mean, Secret agrees with you enough that they're just going to go ahead and ban the bounty out right now.
Yeah,
I mean they banned it, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, taking the bounty
No,
out, of course.
they're that convinced that this is just going to be a constant skirmish game.
Could also because they want Chen or Enigma themselves,
to get rid
right?
of that pressure.
I mean, we'll see what they choose to go with. Generally, bounty is just so annoying to deal with if you want to go for like safe lane Dota. It's so annoying.
Yeah. And the gyro being secured now for Secret.
That should be a core gyro, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely RTC gyro.
Yes.
There's nobody else has played it for that team yet. Something that's really interesting though is that Secret have not been picking the Chen up, even though they've been given the opportunity. And at DSC, I mean, this was a part of their, like as Tusk is now, this was a part of their opening. This was a part of their comfort zone. That was the Chen. Right now, like against a team like EG, I don't think they feel 100% comfortable about the Chen. But again, for early skirmishes and general fighting, Chen is one of the best early game heroes. So I definitely think like that's an option, together with the Enigma and even together with the Maiden.
All right, well maybe they just finally bring it back out here for Secret in this final in game 2. I mean, they're playing from a step back, as we mentioned. They've always been a little bit in the lead and able to flaunt their stuff a little bit in game number 2, but they have to really step it up if they want a chance. I mean, going down 2-0 is a long way to go in a best of 5.
I still am a little bit surprised to see the Earthshaker not touched by either team. I feel like that's really strong for
PPD
right here.
Isn't PPD usually a guy that does not want to plan to go the same thing, like going into the next draft? He usually try to.
No, he really is he's very, very dedicated about you don't run the same thing twice. But I mean, I just feel like when something is that successful.
I think PPD in general though, like he's a great drafter, but the thing I think he actually excels the most at is after a loss. I think EG as a team, but mostly PPD, what they do is when they lose, they become so much better.
It's like anti-tilt.
Yeah, it's anti-tilt. It's very interesting. But now they see they expect the Tusk in the first 2, and they have the option to pick the Shaker, but they choose not to. And for some reason, Secret are not banning it either. They're fearing the Razor from last game and this whole tournament, but also the Bounty Hunter.
Where does Bristle go here? Lane-wise?
For
I think
EG.
it's fierce.
I think it's going to be Fear, Bristleback, and EG, like as a team right now, they have no problem going tri-lane offensive with Fear. Like even though that's a lesser, less likely, like the lesser option, it's still an option for them.
Do you think halfway through the draft here, would you say that Secret's draft is a bit better than the previous one? Because I felt like before PBD kind of outdrafted him semi through the draft, where S4 just felt very struggle on what to draft with a Wisp.
Yeah, the thing is, the Wisp was picked very awkwardly. Like this draft was not built around a Wisp. This Wisp was just there. He adds the global presence, but if you have a Viren compared to a Wisp, and the game is a 5v5 game, you have to actually make like some crazy things happen to even make it worth it, and that's what Kuro did. Like these small relocates made it look like, you know, a 5v5 hero, but it's so unreal, and it's not even enough to match the Viren. Like what Viren did in the last game was way beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, AI really showing us what power the Wyvern holds, and we're not seeing the Wyvern being picked up either in Game 2 so far. And going back to a former point you guys mentioned, I mean, this is something we talked about in Day 1 too, especially you, Alan, that right now, even if it is successful, you can't rely on winning with the same strategy and the same heroes twice in a row. So, I mean, it is the best of 5. We could see PBD coming back to that Schaefer maybe in Game 3. We're going to see the Darkseer being locked in before we go to the last phase here for Evil Geniuses.
But basically, what EG did, and like EG does here, is like they choose Witch Doctor instead of Shaker. It's a different hero, but it's kind of the same idea.
Right.
You know, it's a team fight support that
You don't want to snowball into.
You don't want to go into this hero. You know, if you go into this hero, you'll probably lose a team fight. And then they choose just different heroes, but it's the same idea. They have so strong team fight right now. Like all their heroes are amazing team fight heroes.
No, I mean, Cask has got to be on that. You were mentioning that list of disables that you don't want to snowball into. Cask has got to be right up there.
And Cask is a spell of his own. Like that spell is sometimes more valuable than any ultimate in the game. Like Cask is actually just insane. Like what it can do. Sometimes it's like pretty bad, but often.
Well, it also just it gives him so much utility. You can farm with it too.
Yeah.
That's really ridiculous.
I think good bans are coming out though. The last bans from both teams are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's all what we talked about. The Shaker still was an option, and Secret decides, all right, well, now that they still haven't picked it, let's make sure it doesn't go to the hands of EG, and then the Enigma coming out from EG a little bit preemptively against Secret.
If you look at the laning here, where you have potentially a Leshrac middle and a Bristleback, like we mentioned on Fear, do you think the matchup favors the Viper a lot against the Leshrac, or do you think it's
we were arguing about
fairly
this
even?
I think it's like even, but it depends on what you want to do. Like the Leshrac, I think will outfarm the Viper no matter what. Like you have outpush and you have a jungle to go to. Viper, he can only take the lane, the creeps in the lane. He has no jungle to like nuke out.
Viper can't farm stacks at all. I think the matchup is pretty even.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly, but I feel like Leshrac can stay against any hero, maybe except OD. The hero is just so strong, like Lightning. You can always just stay back, like you're a Shadow Fiend and you Lightning 2 times and the wave is dead. And then, I mean, you're fine. Like Viper will farm on his tower and then you have PPD stacking for you and you will catch up through stacks if you miss some CS. Like, I think Leshrac is just fine regardless.
But the reason for the Viper pick, I think, is general game. Like throughout the game, this damage mitigation is going to be.
There we go, the CM as you mentioned. Oh, and look at this. We didn't even touch upon this. The Spirit comes back here for EG, back in the game. So really quickly before we jump into the game, I mean, gentlemen from Cloud9, what do you think? I mean, does Secret have a better shot here? Because we were saying after that first pick, well, hey, maybe they could go for that CM. They could try to make these plays. But what about on the other side? Storm Spirit comes out at the end.
I think Secret has a more solid lineup this time around, for sure, than last time. But I mean, I called EG to win the series, so I still believe in EG. I think the last pick Storm and then support Leshrac is like it's pretty scary to have thought about mid Leshrac all game. Everyone's thinking mid Leshrac. Boom, there's a Storm, completely different hero, completely different game. I think it's a good move.
I think it's a very good move, and I think the Storm is going to have like one of the games Sumail is wishing for. There's a Crystal Maiden, and he's leaning against the Viper. I think this is a chance for him to shine yet again and take the game pretty much for his team.
Well, maybe he will. He's done that plenty of times so far, but we're going to Game 2. EG looking a little bit more favored before we start the number 2 game. But if they win this, they're up 2-0. So let's find out, jumping right into Game 2 with our casters.
Thank you very much. Game number 1 got the blood pumping. Damn, it is heating up in here. If this keeps going the way it is, Cap, we're shedding a piece of clothing every single game. And we will be, well, we might be banned on Twitch by the end of it all. But EG versus Secret, game number 2. We've got signature heroes galore. Even back to the Crystal Maiden on Puppey. This is his old school hero.
You know, I was having the debate about whether or not I was going to predict EG or Secret for this finals. I think one of the most critical factors for me was the draft and whether or not PPD would be able to outdraft Team Secret. And I feel like this last pick of Storm Spirit was so critical. As they were saying on the analyst desk, look, everybody was thinking, okay, mid-last rack, mid-last rack, mid-last rack. We're thinking the last rack is going to be core, and all of a sudden they drop the Storm Spirit. And look at the disables, or lack thereof, that Secret have to be able to stop that Storm Spirit from snowballing. You've got 3 different cores who aren't going to be able to do too much. Tusk is your most likely candidate to stop that Storm Spirit from just constantly snowballing around, and it's very minimal. Like, he's got the Walrus Punch and Snowball. That's not a whole lot of stun duration to keep the Storm Spirit locked down. So I am feeling EG again for this game number 2, purely based off of the draft.
Man, I agree with you. And what are you going to be doing? Buying a Diffuser Blade over on your support Naga Siren to try and burn out the mana? You don't have a Lion that could potentially drain out Sumail. And Gyrocopter as well as Viper aren't really these heroes that will be going into something like a Scythe of Vice. So you're not really looking for direct control on the Storm Spirit either, or Orchid, or anything like that. You're right. I think Sumail could be a massive problem, and this is probably the other reason why EG has sent him up towards the top lane. Protect his farm, give him the momentum, and allow Fear to go one-on-one up against this Viper.
Exactly. There's no reason to try and put that Storm Spirit, I feel, in the middle lane up against the Viper.
PPD, cast time, Zai as well as Kuro. Pretty close, but it bounces down to the creeps, away from the heroes, which means Zai and Kuro can actually inflict heavy amounts of damage into both Aoi as well as PPD.
It could have been such a good opportunity for them to actually harass both the Tusk as well as the Naga Siren if the cask actually bounced correctly. But it going over to the neutrals is a bit of a loss there for Evil Geniuses. But yeah, going back to it, I feel like, you know, secure the Storm Spirit farm, make sure that he doesn't lose out on that laning phase. And of course, when you put him in the safe lane up against the Tusk's Naga Siren, that's just so unlikely when you got 2 supports.
It kind of looked like they were going to go again with Aoi having their stun up and running, but Sumail not wanting to come that close up against Zai, also realizing that this Tusk gun now is level 2. So with Snowball available, getting that guaranteed kill is not really that guaranteed anymore.
And meanwhile, at the bottom lane, this means the Darkseer, because the Crystal Main is going to be spending a lot of time stacking and farming up this jungle through Frostbite, if this leaves Universe to be able to get full experience in this lane, it's only up to Arteezy trying to get the occasional deny that's going to stop Universe from getting level 8, essentially, by like 12 minutes in.
I'm wondering if that's really the best idea here for Secret, knowing how Universe is. He really is one of the biggest playmakers for EG, coming in and just disrupting everything which the enemy does. But what's your trade-off? Like, you don't really want to put Puppey into the lane anyway until he's found a couple of levels, and he has to stay in the jungle to do such a thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure unfortunately, with the Naga Siren being support here, you just really don't have any rotational power, particularly when you're still only sitting at level 1 and don't even have Ensnare available. So they can't even like rotate and provide early pressure through ganks to try and upset the current static phase of this laning phase, which should be going the way of Evil Geniuses. The one lane that is obviously heavily to the advantage of Team Secret is going to be that Viper.
Yeah, and that's just because Fear has such a hard time getting even towards the creep wave. You want to start using cools to actually farm? That's one way of doing it. He does have that ball to do so. And he's dropping S4 down very, very low. One more spray and Vipe would have been in trouble, but a quick salve up from S4. He'll defend from back behind his tower. Just trying to make sure that Fear doesn't feel comfortable at all on the front lines. He's 13-5 up against 5-1. You want to see him with an advantage. He's got it as far as the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, Bristleback as a mid-hero likes to do a lot of spamming. And of course, every single time he throws out a Quill Spray, he's hit by the Corrosive Skin, and then he's also hit by the Poison attack. So he is incredibly slow, and it's going to be very easy for S4 just to kite him around.
Keep my eye on this top lane as Aoi's trying to watch Kuro very closely. Zai still sit very close towards the creep wave. Obviously, he's never going to be able to out-CS Sumail, but he's finding experience. 3.5 levels. Kuro then just has to pull off the side, so it will deny most of the Radiant creep wave, which means the Tuskar should be approaching level 4 pretty rapidly. And actually, at the same time, EG is doing their own pull. So it's a battle for momentum more than anything else. And Puppey, for the first time, also shows himself on the bottom lane. Frostbite's up the creeps and tries to keep the Iron Shells off the back of Arteezy. And if you're Arteezy, what do you want to build into here? Do you try and go for lifesteal so you get some level of regeneration up against the Darkseer? Is a Hood of Defiance the way to go?
It might be necessary for him to pick up some lifesteal. Obviously, the extra HP is going to be nice versus some of the Ion Shell spamming, but also being able to stack up the Ancients could be a critical factor for Secret to get that Gyrocopter way ahead of the EG carries.
I think Zai is very, very lucky that wasn't a haste rune that spawned up for Fear. He came down to try and contest the 4-minute rune on the top.
I do want to point out that I really like the way that Arteezy has built this just to start with.
Top lane, maybe a little bit of trouble. Actually, Zai, who was the one to initiate on Sumail, but PPD, that paralyzing cast didn't come in as quick as I thought it was going to. And Tuskar has to trigger off the south to stay alive.
That's all right. They still get a little bit of pressure on Team Secret. Zai's forced to use that health potion. Sumail is still top CS on the board, 31 and 5. So, yeah, he's not getting that solo experience you usually like to see unless he gets caught out here.
Yeah, they're chasing out from Snowball under. Two of them together, but they have restoration from PPD. Buying time plus the stun and Zai's in trouble. And we came in at the perfect time for the split. And there goes Zai, there goes your Tuskar, the man that was meant to be the control factor up against someone like a Storm Spirit. Ends up giving first blood over.
It's so dangerous to go on the Storm Spirit in this sort of situation. I mean, they had a decent block on him. The Icicle Shards was nice, but the problem is, think about the two supports they're going into. They both play very well into Snowball. The natural grouping up mechanism of the Snowball allows both the Cask as well as the Split Earth to potentially be devastating. And you can't forget about that early value of level 1 of Voodoo Restoration.
It really did some heavy, heavy lifting. And that means the Secret. Again, we do have ourselves, okay, Snowball in, the Ice Shards hold Fear there. They're trying to get towards his front side, but all they're getting is the ass, and now he will go down. Viper has enough damage for it. And we go 1-1 while called out bottom lane. University's out of range. The attack from Puppey is not enough. 10 HP is all he'll have to survive, but that is enough.
Universe lucky to be alive, and now he's just going to go right back, especially with the soul ring that he has, right back to Ion Shell spamming. Arteezy's doing a pretty good job against this Ion Shell spamming. Gyrocopter doesn't have very good right-click damage, but he does actually have the Rocket Barrage he can spam out. So the early Ring of Bacillus has actually helped him a lot in him being able to push against the Ion Shell and not continually be forced to fight into tower.
The cheeky support's battling it out for the Invis rune. The Frostbite stopped Aoi from getting it, but he can still go for the Split Earth. PPD also has to be a little bit careful when he's isolated like this, but Sumail watching Zai and Kuro very, very closely. They got the Ice Shards over on PPD. And again, you could just snowball into this level 2 Riptide with combining with the Ice Shards. That's a lot of quick damage if the heroes that don't have an escape yet. That's dangerous. And when you also have rotation coming in, that's even more dangerous.
They gotta go soon. Sumail's about to pick up his level 6. If he can get it just 1 second ahead of this Crystal Maiden.
Puppey's coming. One more creep. One more creep is all Sumail needs. And now in comes to Snowball. The shards are off target. Puppey hanging around, and Zai not looking too healthy, but he frostbites on PPD. It was a trap to bait PPD out of hiding. So now they can go up for him and Puppey. There's not enough damage to finish. Kuro no matter to it either. Puppey's going to go down. In fact, it might even be a double as PPD. No restoration. The shards off target. They won't find the pickoff. No vortex available, but it doesn't really matter. They just keep doing it through the pure damage. If they can, yep, there's your bouncing cask. She doesn't bounce at all, but the Snowball goes after PPD. Now Zai in a little bit too deep. No remnant available. He can get the pick off of the Witch Doctor. Zai backing up. The creep wave's doing the work, but Sumail, he'll find himself now with 3 kills in total. And there's all of the kills, in fact, for EG. You're giving momentum to a Storm Spirit.
And this is the exact opposite situation that they wanted to have happen. They were trying to gank up Sumail and take him out before he picks up that level 6. Sumail did something interesting there. He noticed he was 1 creep away. He turns and kills one of those creeps before trying to finish up any of those heroes. Then goes in the Crystal Main, sees the opportunity to go on the Naga Siren as well. And these trade-offs have now allowed Sumail to completely catch up in levels. This is one of the key factors of running a Storm Spirit in the safe lane. You got to think about the fact that, okay, he's going to get a little less experience than he would in middle lane if he was, not dying in that middle lane. So they actually now make up for that fact by being able to get certain kills, especially that last solo kill on Zai towards the end, which now pushes the Storm Spirit almost up to level 8, which is where S4 is at.
It's it's not even just the levels, it's the fact that he's almost 1,000 net worth in front of S4. So these new items are going to arrive. You've got a Soul Ring on Storm Spirit. I know we were saying during the semi-finals, at least the panel was just questioning, how does Sumail find the man to do what he does? Now you're actually giving him free bottle charges, the Soul Ring, extra mana. He's going to be jumping all across his map, finding whatever kills he can, and then having Darkseer buff him up with Iron Shell and Surge. He jumps on S4, that Iron Shell is doing the burn damage, and S4 is practically, in fact, he will be dead to the Witch Doctor of PPD. 33 seconds on the sideline.
Excellent rotation. The only lane that was really going to go super well for Secret was going to be that middle lane with the Viper. Even the bottom lane is at least a trade-off for Universe, who's getting an equal or almost equal amount of farm as an offlaner to the one position of Team Secret. So being able to get a gank on that Viper and slow his roll a bit was pretty critical, and an excellent rotation from EG, really thinking ahead of the time.
And EG is like they're trying to avoid what happened over on the summit, where it was they took out the first game and then all of a sudden the next three went downhill, and they're off to a great start to stop that from happening as the Storm Spirit. It's all about momentum for him now, and it's all about Secret trying to quell this. S4, like, you're building into a mech. What is even our timing we're searching for from Secret? Is it all about the team fight? Is it meant to be about the pickoff with Puppey and Zai? Because it looks like they're going for it again.
I feel like they do need to be the aggressors here. With the early mech pickup of the Viper, they need to utilize that mid. I mean, Viper is a hero who can drop off pretty heavily going into late game, especially in damage. He's a little okay when it comes to utility and slowing down certain melee heroes.
It's dive time. They're coming for Universe. At this point, the snowball's going to stop that surge away. Very quick, very efficient for the kill. And the support couldn't TP in time. PPD's on the way in. But they've actually split up in multiple directions. Kuro went one way and PPD couldn't find either of them, but Storm Spirit jumping down Sumail, chasing after S4. Remember, Kuro is in the neighborhood, so he'll have instead to keep Fear at bay, potentially Riptide, but they just throw out the ulti, and now with the ice shots, paralyzing cast doesn't actually bounce up. This is a problem because it means Zai can move quite freely here. The restoration, PPD to the death one, is focusing S4, but the damage is not Puppey. He lets it go! All over PPD, as well as Fear. Puppey, the Crystal Maiden, with a double kill. They may find more as Universe. Iron Shell is surging in. He finds Kuro, but with all these kills, Song of the Siren is available for him. Puppey is Frostbite available too. They drag him to the other side of the river. The surge is up, and now the Song of the Siren. Universe waited out. The call down. The rocket barrage. How much damage is there? Kuro actually kills himself on the wall. That was nicely played by Universe to get the kill before death, but still, he goes down for a support Naga Siren.
That was just a textbook bait on that Darkseer, but Universe good enough to be still picking up the kill, but unfortunately trades himself away. Sumail picking up the kill on the Viper, though solo, so critical after a big team fight loss.
And they were meant to have the advantage for a while, but when you now level it up at 7 apiece, what isn't even our advantage? We have 2,000 net worth going the way of Secret, and just under that for the experience. In fact, it's even going to dip down now the graphs get updated. And it may even dip down further as EG now start looking at their stacks. So Fear, this is your power level and you're getting the Bristle back. Secret are all on top of the Dire Ancients. The Observe Ward's already down, so you're not going to be able to stack those up. So there's no easy farm for Fear there.
So while I said earlier that I do believe Team Secret should be the aggressors here, the problem is going to be that I don't believe Viper's mech time is going to be that far ahead of EG's. Viper is one of the few who should pick up a mech way ahead of most other cores, because 1 and 2 positions aren't often going to go for a mech. There are only very specific ones like Viper and maybe Razor. But this Darkseer is getting so much farm at the bottom lane that he already has that headdress, and soon to be Buckler, he's only maybe 1 or 2 minutes behind S4's farm.
Top lane support's coming in. Sumail gonna jump on Zai, but Arteezy's already here. Goes for the call down with the punch. Instantly punishing Sumail. That's called hitting hard. The uppercut to the talented youngster.
Team Secret really just taking into Evil Geniuses here, just trying to outplay them in minor maneuvers. I mean, even certain surprising things like Arteezy rotating up to the off lane like that and getting a pick off on Sumail is huge. Evil Geniuses and Secret are actually both rotating their cores around a lot this game, and it goes to show how important the first 15 minutes of this game is to start establishing dominance, to start establishing some sort of lead that will allow you to take control of the mid game, which is going to be the most critical area where Secret have the opportunity to potentially just like draw out the game and allow the Gyrocopter and maybe even the Naga Siren making up that 4 position into a core.
Speaking of Naga, Sumail jumping him on the bottom, and Kuro no way out, no home. Spirit able to bring him down. He had a little bit of help coming in from Universe, but At the same time, it wasn't required. They're still just a support Naga without a Song of the Siren. Even if he did have Song of the Siren, Sumail's jumps and vortex controls were the perfect times. He would have had to pop it the second he saw the ball lightning come.
Yeah, and I'm really feeling that Sumail, I mean, he's going to be able to get a Bloodstone at a decent timing with the rate he's farming. Once he has that Bloodstone, you know you're going to find a couple of kills, and then once you get 10 or 11 charges on that Bloodstone, Sumail Storm Spirit's just going to start balling out of control, because as we said, there's not too many disables that can actually keep him in one place.
Yeah.
So then it's just left purely up to mana regen and the individual play of Sumail, and we've seen how that's gone all tournament long. The semifinals was an excellent demonstration of Storm Spirit as well as Shadow Fiend Sumail, his prowess on those two heroes.
We are talking of Sumail a hell of a lot. I know we're saying, like, there's not a lot to control Sumail, but I'm seeing a Crystal Maiden who is one of these, can be absolutely horrendous, can also be absolutely wonderful. Also, keep your eyes on top. Yep, in comes a wonder. Sumail with the combination of PPD's Death Ward. Arteezy has no chance of surviving this one. He stuck around to destroy the tower, was successful at doing so. At the same time, Secret will be taking the Tier 1 tower in mid. S4 is waiting for it, and Fear cannot deny it. So they will get two Tier 1 towers for the death of the Gyrocopter. But back to my point, you've now got a hand of Midas over on the Crystal Maiden. This means you actually get a faster timed and farmed up Crystal Maiden ultimate. So you potentially could have a BKB Crystal Maiden standing in the middle of the engagement up against EG. What is the rest of EG? We ignore Sumail from the fight. What is the rest of EG meant to do up against the team fight control that Secret offers?
I mean, we keep talking about Sumail because a lot of this game banks on him for EG, because you're dealing with like certain cores like Bristleback who are just going to be kited constantly. I mean, you've got the Tusk, who's actually pretty good at kiting around a melee hero like Bristleback. The Crystal Maiden slows Viper, even Ensnare. Like, Fear's just not going to have a very fun time whatsoever. He's just going to be a meat shield a lot of the time that soaks up damage. So most of the damage is going to be output by Storm Spirit, which is why we keep going back to Sumail. Darkseer may be a bit more of an impact, though, than our Bristleback. And this is where we can actually talk about some potential item choices for him. He's already got the mech, but maybe he goes into a potential Blink Dagger for that early initiation vacuum, which couples really well with the supports. And he actually will be able to have some sort of jumping mechanism where EG only really have the Storm Spirit, which is very single target oriented.
Xayah and Fear managed to find each other, but as the bottom lane where Secret are putting in their pressure, Universe forced to surge himself away. As Secret, again, we've seen this record being played multiple times and times again throughout this ESL 1 competition. You take out all the Tier 1 towers, you look to force in the Tier 2, you slowly restrict the area of the enemy, and then you get BTs, you move quickly around the map. There's no Keeper Light this time around, he was banned out, but you'll still be able to have Naga Siren do her work with the illusions, and he'll probably in the end get BTs over on other heroes. The Blink Dagger is practically done for Xayah. So he'll have the initiation to also punish them when they do have this map control.
Looks like Evil Geniuses, they're going to take this fight.
Can they? The Naga Siren song is up, but Arteezy has called down 2 in the Charlotte.
No.
It actually isolates PPD, and they just completely focus him down. But there, okay, remember to finish the job. The paralyzing cast curting them, and the Song of the Siren will buy space here. Aui's on one side. Now, who is the focus target? The Storm Spirit's kind of got to be it, but he jumps up. They get Universe instead with a Rocket Barrage. Smile jumps up and takes out Puppey, but Puppey kept Fear out of play. Now with the Viper Strike, S4 being dragged back in. The Meg Charge can't keep him up long enough, and Arteezy trying to focus on Fear, but they got Sumail isolated. No mana for him to speak of, and he doesn't have anything. Maybe it's a turn and Aui in with a Pulse Nova. The damage is enough. Will it be enough? Arteezy and Aui battling 1-on-1. Man on man. Arteezy for a man. Double kill for the Gyro. He barely survives.
8 HP is what makes the difference between EG winning that fight and Secret.
Sumail almost catching the Naga Siren there on the tail end of that one. If AUI actually manages to solo up Arteezy there, he gets so much experience and so much gold out of that one. It could have actually been somewhat worth it for EG, considering the dire circumstances they were in. Puppey gets picked off by Sumail. Another excellent spot out of that one, but that was actually so close. Secret were actually in this position where they were super grouped up. The vacuum wall play was a potentially 4-man or 5-man wall that could have been had. But that Song of Siren from Kuro is what actually saves everything from Team Secret and set them up for success.
And it's the one German on the stage that's able to do it for him. And Secret, they got to keep going with this momentum, at least hold on to some of what they've got, because they've got the gold, but they're starting to lose control of the experience as Sumail. You're still looking at him deny himself up. You're not getting a proper death, and he's 9.4k in the net worth. The Bloodstone might be done, but this net worth is now able to move in to something a little bit stronger, like some level of disable, or potentially his own ability to move around inside that Song of the Siren. Like, do you want to get a BKB on him, or do you look for control?
I think control is probably the best bet here, but it's a little bit hard to say. I'm taking a look at some of the other items that are going to start benefiting from the added control. One thing to note is Arteezy has actually gone for a very heavy stats build. So he goes for not only treads, which is, increase in HP when you go over to strength treads, but also you've got drums as well as Sage, which is probably going to be built into the SNY. This is a very common build, SNY gyrocopter, but you don't usually go for Aquila and drums and SNY. This is very mid-game focus from Arteezy, which means he is going to be very difficult to kill from just flat-out nukes. Most notably, Storm Spirit is going to have a hard time getting that last peak of damage to overwhelm his HP pool.
I got an answer from Storm Spirit. We have the first Oblivion staff now on this Storm Spirit. So it will be the Orchid build-up for the Storm. He sold his Null Talisman to make space for it in his inventory.
Yeah, Sumail actually battling up against Arteezy. Not sure this is really a fight he can take. Trying to outplay Arteezy as much as possible. He does have some help coming in from AUI though.
And just back it up. AUI may be able to get just rid of the homing missile. Okay, you just walk straight past it and let Sumail deal with it. And it's only level 1 from Arteezy, so it's not going to do anywhere near as much damage.
Yeah, the Orchid focus, I think, is going to be good for Sumail if he can take out the Tusk or the Naga Siren. Two of those heroes who have really good saving mechanisms for the Viper and Gyrocopter.
Goodbye tier 1 tower on bottom lane. Aoi, actually surprisingly using that Edict before the fortification was triggered. The Creep Wave is going to do the rest of the work anyway as, Zai realized being in Vizrune, scouting out both Fear and Universe Moving, and now PPD puts down the sentry ward. He doesn't find the Radiant Observer, and he doesn't find Zai either. Zai seeing all three players up.
They separated all. Secret may try and go for the very aggressive play, but they have to be quick on the kill, and that's where they lack a little bit, right? Viper is very damage over time oriented. It takes them a little bit longer to get those kills, and you have to think about the fact that if they go for a kill, say on Fear right now, he's farming up that hard camp, they'd be locked in where EG could teleport into both the tier 2 at middle and the tier 2 at top, and could actually be sandwiched against the evil geniuses. So better play not to go for anything too aggressive, at least with the invisibility. Though maybe if they get enough heroes up to this top lane, they can actually circumvent EG from getting back to their base.
They're trying to, but right now, EG, that Dire Observer ward, they're still sitting inside the jungle is working wonders. And Aoi, again, he does this time and time again. The split pushes out, forces a TP back, Wish Puppy. And the rest of EG come in for the kill. Arteezy trying to retreat. 4 of them together. Sumail jumps in. He grabs Arteezy, pulling him in. Universe, the Song of the Siren. Again stopping. A 3 or 4 then back into a wall. Kuro buying that space, not TPing himself out, and Sumail's not going to jump for it either. He just lets him go.
In the meanwhile, AUI did get a pretty good push at bottom lane, as you pointed out earlier. He also now has a Yule Scepter. Now, we've seen certain Leshraks as core Leshraks pick up this Yule Scepter because it basically allows you to be a Lina in 6.84. You may see AUI go for a pickoff just like this at bottom.
I don't know if Puppy actually clicked on him when he showed himself there. But he may not know about that Yule Scepter just yet. We have to remember, too, that we are still running around
he utilized this double damage to go take Roshan. This is one of the big things about Bristleback, especially he has level 2 Goo. With the new change-up of Goo, it actually gets some armor loss benefit at level 2. It goes up to 1.4, so this means they actually have a decent amount of minus armor to take on Roshan, especially with the DD, obviously, being a huge increase in physical damage for EG as well.
And the fact they can do it without Secret really cottoning on, now the ping finally comes out, and it came out there from Arteezy. He's like, yeah, guys, I think he's in there, but it's already too late. Storm Spirit now with Immortality, as well as the full money for the Orchid. And the prep work's already been done on bottom lane by Aoi. That was the crazy thing. You lost 4 players from the map. Aoi was showing himself on bottom, and it looked almost like it was baiting, like EG was baiting with Aoi on the bot. But instead, Secret just kept farming up in mid. They were trying to look for any kind of extra income from other positions apart from where they thought EG were.
So they'll have a large amount of sustain coming in. Fear's already gone for the Vanguard, will be finishing up the Crimson Guard right now. And they also have the Orchid finished up for Sumail at the same time with an Aegis. Aegis Storm Spirit obviously being one of the best, if not the best hero to have it. So they actually just picked up level 16 at 23 minutes. An insane amount of experience. Level 3 Ball Lightning, adding that extra bit of damage. I think Evil Geniuses are now in a really good position to force fights.
But do they just go? Like, and where do you really go? Do you try and go through the top lane? Because you could try and take the tier 2 tower on bottom and then maybe have a crack at the tier 3, but you still got to battle through fortification, and you still got these tier 1 towers allowing Secret to contain, well, hold a lot of map control.
Okay, so they've actually got several counters now, all right? They've got the Orchid to be able to jump on the Naga Siren, take her out, and make sure there's no Song of Siren play when they go for the initiation. And they also have the counter to the Snowball. It's not necessarily to try and stun up or get the Tusk before he uses Snowball, but the Blink Dagger, that bottom lane side's going to be picked off by that Orchid from Sumail, right back up to 8 charges.
Oh no! Keeps him alive, 24 HP, dropped down to him. Maybe now they can turn it around on Sumail. He's regenerating too quickly for him, and Kuro can't catch up to him. The control's too far away, but he brought Secret down to bottom lane, which means now PPD as well as Fear can go into that tier 1.
The 55% magic resistance is insane. The Orchid popped.
Up a long way, goes for the Rocket Barrage. Fear, actually no, there's no follow-up. Without the creep wave there, without the potential bounce, there's just no joy from that cask.
Also, going back to it, we have the Blink Dagger on Universe that we talked about earlier. So the Blink Dagger, obviously, when you snowball in, you have the potential to counter that by blinking in and making a vacuum wall play.
And maybe you can catch him out before the Naga Siren can get the Song of Siren off.
Yeah, that's also a potential.
And if you don't get that off, then you still got double Glimmer Capes from Secret, and they can just bail themselves out. You put a call down, and then EG's too far in. That Darkseid may not have an escape mechanism because he's using Blink, not 4-star, so he can't just push himself out of the call down.
Yeah, it's still a little questionable, though. Do you really want to find up against the Gyrocopter as well as the Viper right now? The Viper is a natural, just game dominator at the 20 to 25 minute marker. He's super tanky. His damage is still really insane. And then you've got the Gyrocopter going for such an offensive mid-game build as well with heavy amounts of stats. He's invested into very much a 20 to 30 minute fighting build. Do you really want to go into that? I think EG actually choosing the split push was a much better idea.
And Secret actually let their tier 2 tower in the bottom lane go. They smoked up and looped around. Now the smoke's going to break and they find Fierce. Ready to observe what's inside the mid lane that saw him out. He can't get the Crimson Guard off, or the one charge is holding on to both of them for now. One charges held the Crimson. So they do find the kill over on the Bristleback, but then Aoi instantly makes a beeline for the bot lane, and so does Storm Spirit. Sumail, a long leap down. They want to try and make Secret think a tier 3 for a tier 2, not worth it. And Fortification, well, it is available. If Aoi can actually, he does trigger the Edict, the Fortification will be used. They haven't finished the tier 2 tower. In fact, EG still have Fortification of their own. They're forcing them back. The tower's down a half-life. Sumail's not giving up. He's got Orchid as well as Aegis the Immortal. He wouldn't mind actually fighting this one. Snowball in. Zion, well, there's your Ball Lightning away. And the tier 2 tower remains up in the mid lane. It's in deny range as well for EG.
Yeah, excellent play there from both AUI as well as Sumail, seeing that opportunity to push down the bottom tier 3.
They're going
for just find an opening.
The ping is on Arteezy. There's your Ball Lightning in. Vortex actually going to go with the Lightning to start with. And Kuro, he actually got Orchided up, so he couldn't Song of the Siren them away. But the Glimmer Capes go to work once again.
Yeah, the problem is, you go ahead and silence up that Naga Siren, but she's still got that Glimmer Cape, which is becoming a critical point. Almost feels like Sumail needs to maybe carry some dust around with him just because the invisibility.
How about a gem? PPD's holding on to one.
It's not a bad option, particularly on the Storm Spirit who has an Aegis, right? I mean, considering he's not dealing with that many disables, he does have to worry a little bit about the Tusk, though, who I felt like Blink Dagger was a must-have for Zai, and sure enough, that's immediately the item he goes for, and he's going to follow it up with a BKB. Him being able to blink in and instantly Walrus Punch up that Storm Spirit when he tries to jump in, sort of a counter initiation, which may just give them enough stun duration to blow up the Storm once.
Sumail's Aegis is going to time out in like 15 seconds, but he might be able to have one last hurrah, and he will do so. Chasing down S4, PPD will be able to give him the extra stun, as well as the Death Ward. Every bit of damage they can get, the Glimmer Cape is down, and the Vision, it was there because of the gem, which was passed over to Sumail. But S4 will be able to survive to fight another day, and the Aegis the Immortal has burnt out as well.
And unfortunately. Even if you can see him, it's still that Orchid just not doing any damage whatsoever because of the Glimmer Cape magic resistance that's added in. On top of that, Kuro actually has an okay amount of farm. Puppey obviously has a lot more with his Hand of Midas. And with the BKB, he could be a big factor here.
Nice Yule Stepper up in the air. Latrak a lot of life with that one of Atos, but Aoi, not enough life to survive for the rest of EG's on the way.
what a
Back into a three-man wall. The Song of the Siren stops the fun. They have to wait it out, but where they go, PPD, the caller's going to isolate Universe, but Smell jumps over, wants Puppey, who now lets it go. Universe solo, he can't get away. Smell as well, dual duration, CM ulti, and they jump in deeper for the snowball from Zai. Smell's in trouble. Via, he's so low, and he might go down. Will it be a team wipe? They punch him, and they'll bring him down. 5 heroes for EG, one by Secret, 19 to 13, and there is one direction of victory, and it's straight down the mid lane.
Absolutely. Team Secret have countered EG so hard with just the item choices. I mean, Kuro going for the Glimmer Cape. How many times did we see Sumail? He should have been able to find a pickoff with that Orchid, and yet he just never killed anybody, never started that snowball roll, and never got those Bloodstone charges. And you see it in a fight like that where he rapidly runs out of mana, and they're able just to run him down.
And the crowd's getting riled up behind Secret as they take out the mid-tier 3. They take out the range racks. EG, well, they will hold their melee. They can't catch out Gyro, or can they? Nope, the Yule Slipper from Aoi just controls the creep wave instead. So as far as EG getting punished for that loss of fight, it could have been a lot worse. Like, you only lose your range racks, and you didn't have to buy back on any of your heroes.
This is true. Look at the items that are coming in for Team Secret, though. I think they're going to be willing to fight. I mean, they'll definitely fight around the next Roshan.
What, just because Puppey's going to own a BKB, they get a full Butterfly as well as a Scythe. The Vi's up and running. Another BKB over on Tuskar. Yeah, I think they got a couple of items, man. Even Naga's got 2.6k. Does Kuro actually pull the Aoi and go Radiance here?
I mean, here's the thing, right? The heavy amount of stats is a good way to be able to deal with the Orchid rather than a straight BKB for the Gyrocopter, and then you get the Butterfly. And Butterfly is a huge counter to the Storm Spirit because he's pretty heavily dependent on actually getting out a lot of right-clicks in fights in order to get damage out. And this is obviously a hero who does not want to go MKB anytime soon.
That's easy. They see Universe to blink away. Zai will like to keep chasing him down. They caught a glimpse of PPD just tiptoeing on the stairs. They understand, like, pushing him through the mid, if they can take the melee racks, that's going to be fine, but all the oldies are up for EG. They're ready to fight. Secret's going to BKB on this CM, and she's almost level 16. Arteezy just goes high ground. Forces down a reaction if possible. At this point, Fear's just going to snot all over him, turns the back. Crimson Guard also triggering now. He knifes on Gyro. Going to drop Arteezy down to 2/3 of his life. S4 is still walking around with this mech of his, but they cannot get this melee racks down. If you're going to commit, you've got to commit properly. Chipping down a melee racks obviously not useful when it will regenerate on you.
Yeah, better for Team Secret to try and go for that melee racks with not that much full commitment, and then back up, maybe go for the tier 2. Look for Roshan to be the next opportunity where Team Secret maybe hard push up lane.
Well, that's exactly why this courier from the Dire side is moving down here. It's not coming for items, it's coming to actually have a look into the pit to see if Roshan is available, which he is not at the moment.
It's a very natural trade-off when you're on the Dire side to give away your top tier 2 tower in exchange for Roshan, but EG, the timing is not right for them.
Yep. That's also so dangerous when you got Song of the Siren available. Now for the Ice Shard, Sphere getting caught. He's actually locked on the Dire stairwell, and it was the Observer that can see him. Puppey, follow-up Frostbite, and now Naga turns on the Song of the Siren. PPD, he's behind them. The call down is on the way, but this paralyzing cast going to cause issues back into a 5-man wall. Sumail will drop, but at 1 damage to death, what's killing a Puppey inside that ultimate. It will have to back up. At the same time, Sumail all the way across, buys back in the game, but he's dying so quickly. Will he actually live through this? He's chasing after Kuro. He'll get the kill. No, he's put him out, but S4 controls him. There's a dieback and a triple kill for S4. Beard doing some work, and Arteezy so low. The Ice Shard, but in comes the snowball again from Zai. They keep buying space, and even with an Invis rune spawning in the bottom river, Puppey holding Fear back for the moment, and Zai's thinking about jumping back in again. PPD's low and Fear even lower. Arteezy will get the kill, and Zai blinking, punch him. Witch Doctor's down, the snowball off for Aoi. He's out of mana, he's out of breath, and he's out of movement. GG! 33 minutes in, we'll level the score. 1 apiece here in the grand final of ESL 1.
Woo! Strategy EG and item choices, man. That's what Team Secret brought to this game. They countered Sumail. I mean, that was the one hope we talked about in the draft. Like, okay, how are they going to be able to deal with Sumail? They don't have a whole lot of lockdown. Well, they just constantly save allies. Glimmer Capes were huge for this game in order to stop those Orchid kills and stop the Storm Spirit from snowballing. You had really excellent plays there from Curl on the Naga Siren. Excellent choices on the Song of Sirens. And then you also had that finishing up Scythe of Ice, sort of the death blow to the EG, essentially taken away the Storm Spirit entirely, whereas the rest of the team were already kind of non-factors.
Well, I asked for more games and we got it. We will be going to at least a fourth, but for now, let's decode the second with our panel.
Thank you very much. We are out of breath right now because we were like, well, is it really going to be over? I mean, to these teams, you never know. Game one went a long time, and bam, Secret just closes it out. EG calls the GG, and here we are. Game number 2, I mean, we really do have an excellent final here. Already tied up 1-1. Ben, what do you think? I mean, Secret, the cast has wrapped it up a little bit there. I mean, using that Glimmer Cape and whatnot to shut down that Storm Spirit, but before that, I mean, we were talking to the members from Cloud9, and hey, well, Sumail got that Storm Spirit. Maybe it's gonna be his time to shine. What do you think went wrong?
I mean, they got the Aegis. I thought they were gonna go crazy with that, get a gem, get a couple of pickoffs, but they got, I think, 2 saves with the Glimmer Cape, and then it all changed with the Song of the Siren in the mid after the vacuum wall. They were able to disengage, set up for a great call down, and then the fight just completely turned around. Granted, EG were fighting 4-on-5, but they thought they could take it.
Yeah. I mean, really big props to Secret, of course, as we're taking a look at our replay here. And look at that. I mean, of course, Zai, we've been praising his to us all throughout.
This was our first fight and one of the first big fights of the game, and just unbelievable here. This was when it still felt to me like EG were going to be in control of the game. Sumail, and this fight, just what more could you ask for? Ending with the 2 teen titans of the sport, Sumail and RTZ, standing head to head.
And we have to look out here for the hour he's done. Like, that is just... You usually would say one single stun there is something to mention, but he hit that double stun. He almost turned around that fight to pick up that
8 HP.
RTZ.
Yeah,
unreal.
Girl coming at the end, right as we make sure that RTZ lives through that fight.
But the play that Ben mentioned, all right, we're here in Germany, and you all know the Berlin Wall. If Secret go on to win the tournament, that will be the Frankfurt Wall. What an unbelievable play in that fight mid. Just catching out all of EG. I thought that they were in control of the game right there, but I thought with one fight, Secret completely turned the momentum in the game around.
I really think they underestimate the Tusk. Like a couple of smokings that led up to that crucial fight just led to pickoffs, like just no one surviving. And the Tusk, I think, is just not being respected by EG.
I think this game taught us a few things. Tusk, obviously a very strong hero, and then Glimmer Cape, you know, for the cost of the item, it just has so much utility, it's ridiculous. It's borderline ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, just really high value for what you get. And of course, talking about that Tusk, I mean, talking backstage, what I'm hearing is, well, this finals, it looks like it's a test on, is Tusk really that good of a hero? Because game 1, EG had an idea, but the game 2 Secret was like, yes, no, he is. You might want to ban it in game 3. We'll see if they leave it open. What do you think, Kai?
He clearly is a good hero, but you also have to give credits to Zai. I don't think you will find another Tusk just as good as his.
Yeah, Zai really shining.
One of my more obscure stats, Puppy. I don't know the current numbers of why. I think I checked this about a month ago. So he averages over 3k damage to enemy heroes per match with Freezing Field. No other player is over 2.5. I mean, his crystal, he literally is easily the best player in the game with that spell. There's nobody else even close.
Yeah, I mean, he showed us why in that last game. I mean, so excellently said. Of course, part of that is that teamwork. I mean, they were able to make sure that all the damage goes through. But man, some of those fights, I mean, he's just sitting there, he's like, trying to get out of it because you guys are all going to take that full damage, or you just all have to run away and we're just going to keep pushing on our own terms. Well, gentlemen, we do have a series on our hands, tied 1-1 here in the grand finals. Absolutely exciting game between Evil Genius and Team Secret. Of course, if you want some more details on the stats or you want to find out more about all that's going on here at ESL 1, all things you want to know about Dota 2, it's going to be on the Score Esports. You can download their app on the iOS App Store or Google Play. So go check that out during the break. We'll be back after these short messages for game number 3, while it's tied 1-1 between EG and Secret.